Um, okay, cool. It is recording. So that's why my name is Larry Craft, is so I can record this. So actually, first of all, we have Kevin here is shadowing. He's a new facilitator, working in the States, but he can participate in the call. Please do participate. And actually, it's an interesting call because Geetha is actually our new other Canadian facilitator. So we're going to kind of both be facilitating this call and alternate. So cool. I'm wondering if maybe we want to look into changing the time of this call for future calls, because recently it has been challenging. I think it's a great time if people don't have plans on their weekend, and it's a really bad time if people do have plans. So it's in between, it could start to be evening plans. It could be. So anyways, I'm going to stop because Geetha is going to take over.
All right. So hi. I know most of you except for Kevin. So I'm going to be helping facilitate the cohort call today. And we're starting the Rosebud Thorn check-in. So basically, one good thing that's happened in your week or recently, something that's been bothering you, something that's not so great. So what's the bud? I'm sorry, I forgot what the bud was.
Oh, sorry. It's something you're excited for. Also, since we don't all know Kevin, why don't we also say our name and where we're from?
For sure, yeah.
Maybe where we're at in school, I guess. Also, sorry, it took me a while to find the unmute button because my laptop is set.
Oh, good. So yeah, so your name, where you're from, and then those three things. So I guess I can start. My name's Geetha. I am from Toronto, Ontario, in Canada. I'm currently in Hamilton. I go to McMaster University, and I'm in my first year of integrated science. So yeah, that's me. And then a good thing that's happened this week. We had a big 5-week project, and it's due tonight, so I'm happy for that to be over. It was all sustainable energy, so that's super cool. But it's just been a long 5 weeks. I guess that also makes it a thorn because it's been a very stressful 5 weeks. But yeah, and I'm excited to see where that goes. So I'm happy that it's finishing today, but it's been really cool. So yeah, and then something I'm excited about. Our reading week is coming up in 3 weeks, and I am very excited to get out of school. Not that I hate it, it's just a lot sometimes. But yeah, so that's me. Anyone can go next.
I guess I can go. So my name is Bonnie. I'm also from Toronto, but I'm in school at Waterloo or University of Waterloo. I'm in my second year of environmental resource studies, and I guess one good thing about this week is that all my friends are visiting this weekend, so I got to see them last night, and I'm seeing another one today, which would be nice because they're all on co-op, so I haven't been able to see them this semester. I guess the thorn is that I have 2 midterms next week and 2 the week after, so I've just been studying when I'm not trying to see people. And I am also excited for reading week and for all my midterms to be done.
I guess I'll introduce myself to you as well. My name is Kevin, and I'm from Kentucky. I live in Lilly, Kentucky, actually, which is a small town, which I found a little bit funny. And a really cool thing that happened this week is that it's confirmed that next year we're going to have a student council at my high school, which we haven't had before, which people are usually surprised by. And I'm in my 3rd year of high school. And that's about it.
Do you want to do your rosebud thorn too? So the rose is something good.
That's something good that happened.
And thorn is something bad, and bud is something you're looking forward to.
Okay. The thing I'm looking forward to, I've actually got all my facilitator calls scheduled now uh, on the same day because I tried to spread those out. Did not work, so it's one day a week now. I have them all there. And something I'm not looking forward to, similarly, I have a big project that's due, which I am not as enthusiastic as you were about, uh, simply because it's a group project, and I'm very wary of group projects.
All right, I'll go. I haven't introduced myself. So I'm Lily, I'm not Larry. Although you all know me, you've all met me before. I'm also from Toronto, but I live in Halifax, Nova Scotia, where I go to school, University of King's College, and I'm in second year environmental sciences. And my rose from the week was I had a really nice evening last night watching, staying in with some friends and watching a movie and ordering pizza. I was just like really relaxing, and we watched this really wholesome movie from Studio Ghibli called Kiki's Delivery Service.
Oh.
It was just so sweet, and it was great. And then my thorn is that I've been sick all week and coughing a lot and not been able to sleep, so that's really sucked. And something I'm excited for is every week, okay, no, Kevin, I don't know if you were on the call when I said what I was excited for the weekend yesterday, but it's the same thing. Well, actually, I'm excited because it was my champagne birthday this year. It was 20 on the 20th, so my parents got me really fancy champagne, and I haven't opened it yet, and my friends and I are opening it tonight, so I'm excited to
Ooh.
So yeah. And also, I'm playing Dungeons and Dragons tomorrow, which is the highlight of my week. So,
I played it yesterday.
it's amazing.
First time I
love it
didn't
so
DM
much.
with my group.
Cool. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Welcome to the Cohort call, guys. This week we're gonna talk about like our past selves a little bit and talk about like what we were like elementary school, middle school, those kind of, and what you would have liked yourself to know. This can be like general advice, or more like environmentally speaking, like what would you have liked your past self to know that you know now.
Yeah, and maybe just try to focus on like a specific instance or like because this is the storytelling part of our call. So, it seems like a bit of a vague storytelling prompt, but I think like, if you think of it more like an instance in your childhood or your past and you would have liked to know a specific thing. So, yeah.
Yeah. We can all take like a minute or two to come up with a specific instance we'd like to talk about. And yeah.
You said a specific instance in the past that has to do with issues. My mic cut out for a brief second. I'm sorry.
Sorry, you're cutting off there for a second. Can you repeat what you said?
Sorry, I asked because I think I cut off on my end too. What did you say the prompt was? Something we wish we would have known?
Or yeah, so like describe your past self, like it may put like a specific instance maybe, or like period of time, and then like what you would have liked yourself to know, or what you would tell yourself looking back now. I'll give you guys like a minute, and then whoever's, or if you're ready to start now, that's cool.
I guess I can start.
Yep.
I think this isn't that far back, just back to grade 11 in high school, I guess, which is what year you are in, Kevin. But I think there were so many like instances of when I was just like super stressed out and like for a reason that I thought really mattered back in grade 11. But now looking back, like it honestly didn't. I know there are like so many things I could have chilled out about and still would have gone here in my life and like to the university and the program that I wanted to do. And I think I would just tell myself that things aren't as serious as I think they are, and that there are bigger things in life and that I should just focus on like getting through school but not being stressed out about it unnecessarily, and to do the things that I wanted to do in terms of like environmental stuff and seeing my friends, but like not letting them like impair the other things that I want to accomplish in my life, and that like all the things that I thought would stop me from getting here like aren't actually going to, and I don't need a high 90 in all my courses to get into an environment program at Waterloo. Yeah.
No, that's super true. I think high school especially is a pretty stressful time, especially like the last 2 years, at least like from my experience. I feel like I felt the same in terms of like the marks and stuff, and stressing a lot for no, like looking back now, like insignificant reasons. Yeah, that's completely fair. Anyone else would like to go next?
Sure. Mine's also in high school, since I spent quite a bit of my life thus far in high school. Back in freshman year, or grade 9, I was very politically frustrated with most things going on, and I didn't realize that there was a place for high school students in government and politics, and that they could actually do things. So I just wish I would have known that I could have been equally involved as I am now back then, and just had the confidence to step forward and go for it.
Yeah, no, that's completely fair. I think even here, like I don't know, especially because we're all like care about the environment or whatever other issues you do care about, you can feel like you, like, I don't know, at least I felt a lot of like I just can't help, and I'm young, but the world is going terribly, like, or I don't know, but like that, and so learning that we did have the power to actually make a difference, and to get involved in like political initiatives and things like that. I think it was a big revelation, at least for me too. So yeah, completely agree.
Oh, I can go. So I think a big thing, I mean, I also echo the like not being as stressed out in high school, because I was like way over the top, off the charts stressed about grades. But I think like a big thing that I would have liked my younger self to know is like how to be more accepting, and like learn from people's different experiences and respect that. I'll talk about a specific instance. When I've gone to a Unitarian church since I was 6, which is like a really, I don't know, my family describes it as like the church for hippies. But it's, like it's a non-dogmatic religion that's based off of 7 principles that are essentially like treat everyone the way you want to be treated, and the earth is a web of interconnected all existence, and like environmental and social justice values are very at the forefront. Anyways, that's just a little bit of background. But there was this guy who we go through a coming of age program when we're like, I went through it too young, but I finished it when I was 13. You really should do it older. But anyways, point being, one of the guys who had been in the program with for a long time, like we'd been friends. We were quite close friends. And I think we were in grade 8, when I was in grade 8 and he was in grade 9. And then I found out that he smoked weed, and then I completely shunned him. Like completely, like I just refused to talk to him. And like his mom and my moms were friends and stuff too. So that was kind of a stupid move. But then like, a few years later, even though I was like a super rude to him, he reached out and like tried to connect. And like I mean I did, but I was still very judgmental. And like, I mean, I'm not saying that if I had been friends with him that like it would have been amazing or anything, but I think that and I still do this to an extent, but I'm really trying not to, is to like not make judgments on people's characters based off of like one aspect of their life that I know about. I think that that's also really important in doing environmental work, especially thinking about the environmental justice component and like intersectionality between movements, because it's really easy, or I find it really easy, to think like be judgmental of people who don't seem to care about the environment, or but like recognizing that like the one part aspect that you're focusing on of someone's personality is not necessarily the person as a whole. But I definitely think like at least, and it's still ongoing, but more so when I was younger, because I've kind of come to these realizations, is it like focusing on the one thing that I would not do in my own life that other people do as like a merit against their character, and basically resulted in me disliking a huge number of people and diminishing my own experience and interaction. So I think that's what I would have wanted my younger self to know.
Yeah, no, I was like giggling inside because I did like a very similar thing when I was younger, and like found out the same thing. So don't worry, you're not the only one who's done like that exact thing. But yeah, I really agree with applying that to like environmental activism too, because I know like originally I didn't think about people's financial situations or think about like transportation wise. I'm like, why are you taking your car to school every day? But if it wasn't feasible for them to take another method of transport, or like not make like lunch at home every day, like there's so many things that are just not possible sometimes, or very difficult. And I used to never consider that when I was like judging people for like buying out every day, or whatever it was. So I think that's a really good just lesson to apply, or thing to keep in mind, like when we're doing environmental activism. Yeah, and I guess I can go now. So I guess previous instances, or just like a lot of childhood, was a lot of anger towards things that I was not happy about. So like I went to the zoo and I was not happy with how they're treating animals, and I'd get really like upset about that. Or I'd see like different like things that weren't socially just or fair in my eyes, and I just get angry at everyone. I was like, wow, the world is such a mess, and I just didn't know what to do with all that anger. And so like I feel like even like elementary school, there was just like pure anger, like I didn't really know. And then middle school came along and high school came along, and I started to learn like volunteering and just like how the city, like how different things work and how different policies work and stuff like that. So I guess looking back, I'd like even in elementary school, like we had an eco team. We like I did a waste audit at one point, and so like telling myself that like there are things you can do, and like learning how to turn that into a more positive, like turn that anger to like positive actions, I guess. Because I just remember so much frustration with a lot, and I still do. Like environmental activism or like human rights or whatever it is. There's a lot to be angry about. So I guess my lesson, I would tell myself that, there are things you can do, and there are people that do care about the same things that you do. So like you're not alone when you're sitting there just upset about all the things that are going wrong. And yeah, there's something you can do. So that's what I would do.
Yeah, so I'm going to take over for a little bit in facilitating. So, it's really interesting to think about our past selves in doing this, because so much of our work is working with other generations or other age groups, often older than us. But, in thinking about these things, it might be like how older generations feel that we're, having flaws in that case. But so how do you all think, our experience as young people, we're not all at the exact same, time in our life, but how our experience might be different from your parents' experience or grandparents, or, those older generations. Because, a lot of and I especially find, like, my parents are very progressive and liberal, but, they're not activists. And when I have conversations with older family members and relatives, there's such a different, just a different outlook on the issues in terms of knowledge, and also just, what's acceptable to say. As preface, mostly because this really irked me and I want to share the story, not because it's really necessary to do this discussion, but I really want to share it because it was really awful. My mom and I've Kevin, you'd be the only one that wouldn't know, probably, or Keith, you may not know. I have 2 moms, anyways. We're married. So anyways, I was with one of my moms, at my great aunt and uncles over the holidays, for tea. And my mom, for some reason, I don't know why she thought it was a good idea, decided to get into a political discussion with them. She was like, so they literally had a book about how great Justin Trudeau is on their bookshelf, but my mom did not notice this. So she says, oh yeah, Justin Trudeau has made, some mistakes. And my uncle had been asleep, I swear, and wakes up and says, mistakes? What mistakes? And then, we started talking about, like, missing and murdered Indigenous women and lack of proportional representation and things and climate change. And my uncle was just like, talked about what in the 50s when he was a Christian missionary and he went to bring the children, or like seeing the children go to residential schools, and was like, Indigenous children, was like, well, if they didn't go to school, what would they do? They, their parents are trapping. And I'm just like, oh my God. And then he said, like, there's this time, the government gave the Indians homes, and then a year later they were new, but they were rat infested and falling apart. And it was just like, and my aunt also said this thing where she was like, oh, I feel it's so, she's a really sweet woman, like she has the right feelings, but like, oh, it's just so wonderful how the blacks feel like, they can say what they want now and like do what they want with their lives. And I'm just sitting there like, holy shit, you cannot say that. It's not okay to say. Yeah. So anyways, as a preface, different generations have different outlooks. What are your thoughts? Because I should stop talking. I know lose my voice anyways.
I've had very similar conversations with my mama and papa. My papa worked in coal mines growing up and all that, and then they're actually very conservative. My mother's moderate, and I'm a progressive, so it's waned over time. But I think just the lack of like, if you don't live in a diverse area, you didn't get any exposure to diversity or different cultures other than the whatever TV they had. Which I don't think they had much because they didn't have electricity, so they probably had none. But I just think that the main generational difference is the exposure, because very small town in the backwoods of Kentucky, I think was 99% white. So there was absolutely nothing, no way for them to know. I'm not saying ignorance is an excuse or anything like that, but it's just that our generation can look places like online as learning tools that our other generations didn't have prior. And maybe that's why we're the most progressive generation yet. But that's the main generational difference I see. And the conversation was about Donald Trump mainly, which yeah, I'm not going to say anything more on the subject, but they were for, I was against.
I guess I can go next. I think for me, it's a little bit different because, in terms of my family, because my parents immigrated here from China, and my dad grew up in Vietnam. So I think like obviously they lived a very different life because they didn't grow up in Canada. And I was just in China this past winter break. Oh, that's so weird. It's only been 3 weeks since I've been back. But so I've seen like I was staying at my grandparents' place, and I think it's just so, I don't know, like I don't speak the language very well anymore, so it's hard for me to communicate with them on like deeper issues. But I think like I like the whole culture, obviously, and just the way they live their lives is so different from what we do here. And there's so many things, I don't know, it has to do with the government and stuff, but like that they just don't like learn about in school, or like don't think about with environmental stuff, but also like social issues. And when you live, like my parents, like, because as a like minority or whatever growing up in Canada, like you have certain experience, but my parents grew up as like the majority in whatever countries they were in. So I think that's also very different, that when they got here they didn't realize like it's weird when you're not like the majority of people. And I think for my mom's pretty like progressive, I guess, like liberal, I don't know. She I don't know, she like tries really hard to like learn about new things and like to listen to me and my sisters and stuff about issues that we think are important. But I think for my dad it's a little different, mostly because my mom's like a stay-at-home mom, so she like interacts with a lot of people because she's always volunteering and stuff. She doesn't work, but my dad works, and I think he like grew up in Vietnam during the war, so I think he like has a very different life experience, and things for him like for so long was just about like getting to Canada and like getting to China safely and like all these things. I think his priorities are just very different, understandably. And he, I don't know, he's not like conservative, but he thinks like for him like money is important because you need it. Like he wasn't always like financially secure. So I think in terms of that, like the experiences you have growing up affect your outlook. And for them, I guess it's less generational, just like the way their lives more. It's harder to prioritize things like environmental stuff when like for so long other things were way more important to you in your life. Yeah, that's my personal thing with that.
Yeah, no, I was gonna like I completely agree with the priorities thing, because like I live with my mom, or I did until university happened. But so yeah, I always talk about wanting to like go like do environmental work once I graduate, and I think for her it's not the most like secure job field, which I still disagree with. Like it, but she thinks that like medicine, things like that, are more secure just because of where she's from, and like from what you hear, you don't really hear as like environment, like sustainability as like a job that like can give you a stable future, and so like I think just like fundamentally though, like she hates wasting food, she hates like plastic bags and all that, like all those things are still like it just she does she's like she takes like she's pretty good with those kind of things, and I think she does care about the environment, and I think like I got certain things from her, because now I like get uncomfortable like throwing out food and stuff like that, but in terms of like priorities and stuff, because she did immigrate to Canada, and it was a hard thing, and you don't really think about like environmentalism when you just move to a new country and like you're trying to get accustomed and you just want like a roof over your head and stuff like that. You don't really think about carbon emissions and stuff like that. And so when I talk about that a lot, it's just like it's kind of confusing sometimes because she's not used to that being such like a priority. So I guess I feel like generationally speaking, like if she were to have grown up in like a financially stable environment the whole time, and like it would be more prioritized, but because of just like her life experiences, it's not. But I do feel like in general, like younger people do have a bit more concerned about the environment than adults, just because it is our future, and we can envision ourselves in the shithole, like on the planet. We can see like what it would be like and all the problems, but for adults, it's a little harder. So that's those have been my experiences, or like how I feel about the generational differences.
Yeah, I also feel like with the you mentioned like it depends on people's upbringing and their finances. I think it moves the other direction too. Like if with older generations, if they're well enough off that like they believe they can buy themselves out of any issues, then it's, they feel that it's not necessary for them to think about these issues because it's not directly at hand for them. And yeah, I don't know. I think it's really tough because like for us especially, and it is our future we're worried about. But I mean, there are still people in our generation as well who are having to focus more on like the immediate concerns to threat what am I trying to, and things that threaten their life and their daily survival. So I think like that's why it's so important to the intersectionality of the movement. So that like got much bigger than intergenerational. But I think too, like with working with other generations, there's so much that we can learn. Like in the experience of first generation immigrants, as like there's, and I don't want to like speak for you, but like there's so much, like everyone's life experience, and like I mean my parents like lived in Canada forever, but my not forever obviously, many generations, and but they for a long time it wasn't legal for them to get married, and also my mom Jill grew up well below the poverty line, so like they have different experiences as well. So and our work in I Matter does involve quite a lot of intergenerational work. Some groups have mentors, some don't, but we all interact mostly sometimes with Megan and Larry, who I think you all know. And that's how I Matter was started too. So I think it's really powerful. So, I mean, and talking about that, like, what are some of the challenges that you feel you face specifically because you're a young person doing activist work? And this could be like in relation to talking about stuff with family or just in general. Like, there are a lot of specific challenges that we face, and it's a hard role.
I guess I can start. I guess because, like, for me, I think the biggest challenge is like convincing the people around me that like it's important enough to like invest in like a career in or something. Because like, yeah, everyone does. I don't know. For me, and my experiences, every time I bring up the fact that I want to be in environmental work, like until I started getting involved in like environmental organizations themselves, it's always been like like I'll recycle, but like why are you going into that field? Like that's not stable. That's like find a job that you'll actually like get money from and like things like that. So I feel like, or like I guess that might not be really a young person thing, but just in terms of difficulties of like being an activist, it's like people are confused, not confused, but it's just like, why is it such a big priority for you? And like sometimes it's hard to like wrap their heads around sometimes, and I feel like I'm like, this is such a big issue, or like I really really want to like go into this, and I see myself doing it in the future, and I feel like either they just like, there's people who are like, all right, like what difference can you make? And I know that's such a generic thing. It's like you can't, like one person can't really make a difference, but I feel like that's a mindset that a lot of people have while I'm talking to them. Like, and to talk about like what I want to do, it's like, oh, this is such a big problem, and like this little thing that you want to do is like quite insignificant, I guess. And I feel like that's a big problem that I've had when I'm talking, or just like when I tell people I want to, like, I'm into environmental activism and stuff like that.
Other than the fact that up until about a week ago I couldn't drive, uh, one thing, and I think it was Larry that gave us this example specifically. A lot of times when we advocate city councils for, I'm not sure about the Canadian local government structure. So when we go to city councils, a lot of time it can be dismissed as, oh, it's great that young people are involved in government and stuff. Okay, next. And then it's completely ignored, and they use the praise of being a young person that's active as a deflector for not answering questions and not actually doing anything. So it's just get over the fact that young people are active. It's great and it's praiseworthy every time a young person steps up to do that. However, don't use it as a fact that you want more young people involved as a way to ignore what young people are saying. And that's the most frustrating thing I can think of at the moment. I'll probably think of something more frustrating later.
I think for me, like, I don't know, my parents are pretty supportive of like the degree I'm trying to do and like the career I want to do, even if they don't really get it. My other relatives less so. They're always like, but like, what are you gonna do afterwards? And I'm like, save the world. Hopefully. We'll see. But no, I think in terms of like, as a like younger person, university, even though university is just like only young people, it's, you know, for me it feels like yes, like you should do your extracurriculars, like whatever, like help plant trees, do cleanups, whatever, the things that our campus does with the like environment related things. But I always feel like before they like want you to do anything real, like actually helping the movement, it's always like, you like wait till you're out of university, like wait till you have your degree, wait till you're done school, and then you're like a real person and you can like actually do something. But I'm like, why do we have to wait when we could be doing something now? And then, like, I don't know, university's hard, but like if we're making time to do cleanups and like to do those things, like we can make time to do like more politically inclined things. Like that's the vibe I get from like professors and stuff too. It's always like, yeah, like do your 4 years or 5 for here, but like get your degree, get all the knowledge that you need, and then you can start doing something for real.
Yeah, and like the thing with climate change is it's like we don't have, the time for everyone to finish getting their degree. Who cares? I also find that with like, peers who obviously care, but like, you try to engage them and things, and people are just like, well, like after I finish my degree. Yeah. Also, Kevin, I don't know how much you noticed I was nodding through all of what you were saying. That is so the case. I just went to City Council on Thursday, actually, to present a proposal for a plastic bag ban. And, like, there's been a lot of debate over in Halifax because we had to send some of our plastic to landfill because China stopped buying it. And, yeah, so it's a big issue. And they were like, thank you for coming. We just need young people to come and tell us when we're not doing what's right. And they didn't even ask us any questions. They literally just said, and let's get the solid waste manager to come up and tell us why we had to make this bad decision and like not recycle things. And please keep coming back. But then they never act on what we say. So it's like, why should we want to come back? I would say, sorry. Also, like, what I find really frustrating is, or not frustrating, but really challenging is like, um, I mean, I do so many hours a week on iMatter stuff, like many, more than I should, with what I'm hired for. But anyways, the point being, like, and I complain about it because it stresses me out because it makes me really busy. And so I'll talk to my friends or family about like how busy it is. And it's like, well, just like do less. Just like don't go to meetings or don't do that. It's like, but it feels like so much is at stake if we don't do it. Like, it's not like not going to, I don't know, like a rehearsal, or well, there's concerts at stake. I don't know, not going to like a book club. Like, what's at stake if you don't go? Literally, you just don't read, which sucks. But, like, it feels like, if we don't do this work, and I feel like that is what's so nice that we have, like, these calls and this community is that we don't feel like we're the only ones doing it. But, a lot of the time, like, it can feel so much like we're the only ones who are stepping forward. That doesn't mean that people don't care around you, because I would say, like, every single one of my friends probably would say that they care about climate change, and I believe them. But, they're not all stepping up to do local work here. And I think, like, an instance that made that really clear to me when I was presenting on Thursday and losing my voice was I was being interviewed by a journalist who was like, in the press release, you said, which I should have written this, but anyways, you said that over hundreds of youth would be packing the room, and there's only 2 of you. And I'm like, wow, that's because we have the support of like 15 youth organizations. So theoretically, we have hundreds upon thousands of youth supporting us. But like, yeah, none of them showed up because, life. So I think that's really hard. I think that also like makes what also hurts being youth activists is that like counselors or older generations have this idea of like what our generation is like. So it's like, oh, good job. You're not sitting on the couch on Facebook all day. Like what an accomplishment. And it's like, and also I felt, especially when it's in high school, it'd be like, oh my gosh, it's so cool. They're young environmentalists. Like, so cute. That's amazing that you're so passionate. And it's like really condescending. And it's like, yeah. So I would say there's so much. This is something I can rant about for a long time. And it's like, even like when I was in high school, I was like, 20-year-olds cannot call themselves youth. They're not real youth anymore. It's like, I'm 20 now. It's like, and sometimes, it does seem like I have a lot of responsibility at iMatter. Anyways, so it's like sometimes it feels like I'm doing adult work, and it's like when people are like, oh, what do you want to do after your degree? It's like, you know what, I could technically just stay working for iMatter forever. Let me do that. I'm not sure if that's my life plan, probably not, but anyways, but like in other cases, people treat, people still treat you once you're in your 20s as a young person who doesn't, like, oh, it's great you showed up, but we're not going to listen to you. Yeah, I know. That's a rant I could go on a lot.
I do a lot of work with the High School Democrats of America, both like the state and national level, and it's the exact same for every level of government. I've noticed, whether it's city, state, or national, they all commend you on your ambition and passion, but will not heed any of your words.
Yeah, there was this time in high school when there's this organization called Green Learning, and they wrote this white paper. They had like Bonnie, you participate. We both actually participated in the like calls. They had a bunch of high school students basically like brainstorm on Google Docs like their solutions to all these issues in Ontario, and then I was one of the student writers, so we took like all this information and wrote this white paper. It was supposed to be like this official document to present to the Premier, Kathleen Wynne, and we couldn't get it. We couldn't get a meeting with Kathleen Wynne. Then we couldn't get a meeting with Glenn Murray, who's the Minister of Environment. And so we ended up getting the like parliamentary assistant to Glenn Murray. And I then met Glenn Murray at a town hall, and I was like, did you ever get this white paper? And he's like, no, that sounds really cool. Meet me for coffee over it. So I emailed him, never heard back. And it's also like, it was such a like, oh yeah, you youth are cool and cute. Yeah, that's very, and I mean, even like, I feel like, I don't know, I haven't, but the Prime Minister Trudeau created like the Prime Minister's Youth Council. Like I haven't heard anything that they've actually done. Just kind of like, it's like they take a bunch of photos with Trudeau. Fun fact, last year I decided I was going to find them all on Facebook and message them about I Matter and say they should do it. I actually got one to
Did
meet
you?
one.
That's so
She did a
cool.
call with us, and then she
Mhm.
was into it, but then she dropped off the face planet. She's no longer doing it, which is sad. But anyways, yeah, that's also was slightly a creepy thing to do. I would say you probably should not go ahead and do that as facilitators. But yeah, yeah. Is there anything else that any of you would like to discuss? And this could have to do with like anything to do with local work or anything you want to talk about, or anything else to do with this. We only got a few minutes now.
I just have like a quick story relating to people not taking youth seriously. I've noticed that very local grassroots organizations tend to not care what age you are. So I've gotten into a bunch of them, including this one called Kentuckians for the Commonwealth. And I asked to be considered for the Economic Justice Committee. And I was talking to one of the like bigger people in the organization over coffee. And I said, it's great that you're willing to like put this like responsibility with a 16-year-old. I know a lot of organizations tend to look over people as young as me. And he said, I'll be honest with you, there is a conspiracy to put as many young people in positions of power as possible, and I'm leading it. So that's just a very nice like and new interaction I had where people trust the younger generation as much as any other one.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. Like over the summer, I worked with a pretty small organization, like an environmental organization, and the amount of just power they gave us to do literally anything or give our own ideas. Like they're submitting a grant to like the Ministry of Environment, and they're like, write it, do whatever you want, like add whatever you want to do, and it was like $100,000 grant. It was a pretty significant thing. So for them to give us that amount of power to like the summer students, or that amount of responsibility, it was really cool. And I don't think I would have seen that in a bigger organization at all. It's just because they're so small, and they really did believe. I think grassroots organizations just do believe in that young people can actually do things other than scroll through Facebook. Yeah, it was really good.
And I thought letting me do the agenda was cool. I didn't even.
No, that's
Yeah. Yeah, about equally as cool as the $100,000 grant. Writing the agenda.
No, I mean, we did not write the entire thing. We helped write, but yeah.
Yeah, I think like, I don't know, I mean, especially more so like that's most of my experience with like not completely youth run organizations is with I Matter. Youth run organizations are a different atmosphere of competitiveness. Yeah. For reference, Bonnie, Geetha, and I all were involved with the same organization in high school called the Toronto Youth Environmental Council. Bonnie and I ran it together the year before Geetha joined, so we never actually worked all together. But yeah, I would say like it's I kind of I don't reflect very much on all the work that I do, but I'm actually getting a school credit for working for iMatter. So I have to do these weekly journals where I like reflect on my work and the like work of the organization. And when I'm doing it, I'm like, whoa, this is like really big and like real. It's really interesting. Thank you. Thank you so much. I just got brought water because amazing friends. I was having a coughing fit on mute for a while. Yeah, so it's like really cool. And it's really empowering and also like, yeah, really awesome. Anyways, this has been a really great call, even though a small group of us. I think Geetha, we'd said that you would do checkouts, but it's really not much of a thing. So I'll just start, and then we can just go around and I'll check out. So we'll just like for the end of the call, just because I'm already talking, it's easy to do. Just like, share how you feel the call went and any other like feels, how you're doing. So I'll start. I thought this was good. I think, it's as and Kevin and Geetha, you will find as you move into facilitator roles more how frustrating it is to schedule and get people where they want to be. But I think it was we had some really great discussion, and thanks for coming on a Saturday afternoon. I don't actually know what time zone you're in, Kevin, so I don't know what time it is for you. But
Eastern Standard Time, so 5 o'clock.
Okay, so you're not that far behind me. Cool. And yeah, it was nice. It's good. All right. It's small group, so I'm not gonna call on people, I think.
Yeah. All right. I can go. Yeah, I thought it was a really good call. I really liked hearing your stories, and frustrations. I think those are also like it's good to let it out sometimes because like a lot of the time like you share the same frustrations about different things. So I think it went really well. And yeah, I did learn a lot. So I think this went well.
Yeah, I share the same sentiment with you too. It was really informative and fun at the same time, which people sometimes struggle to do. But this did it like perfectly, and I really liked the intergenerational portion, especially because of how like different each of our answers were. Yeah, that like I said, that part especially.
I guess same thing. I think it went really well, and I think like it sucks to not have everyone be here, but at the same time, when it's a smaller group, like you can have fuller discussions where everyone's participating, which is nice. Yeah, it was nice meeting you, Kevin. By the way, I already met the other two.
Nice meeting you too. The only one I knew beforehand is Lily, I believe. So Lily's there to me, so that's why I keep going with that.
Yeah.
And
all
Bonnie
right.
is there, and you are there.
Well, I hope you all have a good rest of your weekend. And if any of you are available for the challenging questions training tomorrow at 4 p.m., that's 4 p.m. my time, so that would be 3 p.m. your time, all of you, because you're all in Eastern time.
Yeah.
Fun. I think it will be really helpful. And Larry and I are running it.
Oh, that's so cool.
So I think it'll be good.
All right.
And I will hopefully remember to change my name back to Lily.
Is it really an iMatter call without two layers?